Okie doke. So test on Friday. Just a couple of things you might want to sort of start thinking about. You're just remembering the difference between ascending and descending, and greater than and less than. So ascending and descending. And then we've also got greater than and less than. Alright, so ascending is going from our smallest to biggest. That's a nice easy way. So obviously if you're ascending stairs, you're starting at the bottom, smallest, and then going to the top end. Descending is obviously going the opposite way. So you're starting at the top of the stairs, which would be the biggest, and you're going down the stairs to the smallest one there. Just a couple of symbols that you will need to know. Greater than is this way, and less than is this way. The easiest way to sort of think about that is if it's less than, and we kind of just pick the, I suppose the arrow up, and we sort of pivot it around 45 degrees, it ends up looking like an L. L starts for, less starts with L, so that's a nice little easy way you can start thinking about it that way there. Okie doke. When we look at what's actually on the test, there's a whole different range of stuff. Because we are looking at adding and subtracting whole numbers, things like that, we need to think about adding, subtracting. We need to think about multiplying and dividing, and all of those things, our four major functions, are for a range of different tasks. So that'll be for whole numbers, fractions, and decimals. Alright, now because we've obviously been working with positive and negatives, we need to have the idea that we can have positive whole numbers, negative whole numbers, positive fractions, negative fractions, positive decimals, and negative decimals. So I do want you to realise that all of these are, or can be, positive and negative. So that's a nice little start to sort of an introduction, I suppose, to thinking about what is actually going to be on the test. A few other little things that you do need to be aware of as well. When we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, a lot of the time you're going to have to start thinking about utilising BIDMAS, so brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. And we do that from left to right. I'll do some examples a little bit later on. You also need to think about the indices. Alright, so that's the powers. You'll have something along the lines of, like, 5 squared equals 5 times 5 equals 25, and then things like negative 5 cubed, negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. 5 times 5 is 25. The positive and the negative gives us our positive answer, but then we need to multiply by our last negative 5 to give us our neg 25 there. Okay. The next little thing we also need to think about, again, I'll give a couple of examples later on in the video, is looking at the Cartesian plane. So I might just change colour. Cartesian plane. And in regards to that, we'll be looking at the quadrants. Quad meaning 4, so quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then also looking at coordinates and placing them in the placing some coordinates on a Cartesian plane there. Alright, so now we've kind of got the outline of what's actually on the test. I'll actually start giving some examples exactly as to what you might actually start looking for. So when we're looking at, let's say, adding and subtracting of whole numbers, I'll use the same numbers, I'll just change the sign in front of them. Alright, so we might have something along the lines of positive 2 plus positive 3. We'll have positive 2 plus negative 3. We'll have positive 2 minus positive 3. And we'll have positive 2 minus positive 2 minus negative 3. So there are questions that you'd actually have to start looking at it's working around on. So I'll just change colour, we're on blue now. So first step really is, like I've always said, let's just drop the brackets out so we end up with positive 2 plus 3. If we have two additions or two plus signs next to each other, they will just change to a singular plus sign, one singular plus sign. So we can look at saying 2 plus 3 equals 5. There we go. Moving on to this example down here. Again, let's just drop the bracket. So plus 2 plus minus 3. If we have a plus and a minus next to each other, that'll end up being dropped, and we will just write it as 2 plus and a minus makes a minus, 3 is negative 1. Up to this example here. Alright, so similar sort of thing, we've just changed the order there. Again, let's drop the brackets, plus 2 minus plus 3, a minus and a plus. We'll change that again to a 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And the last example, dropping brackets here, plus 2 minus negative 3. Our double negative becomes a 2 plus 3 is 5. So really straightforward sort of stuff. Just a bit of a reminder, when we have a plus with a plus next to each other, when we have a plus and a minus next to each other, or a minus and a plus. Yep, hang on. There it is. A minus and a plus, or a minus and a minus, they will change to become plus and plus. If they're the same, remains as a plus. Sorry guys, we're just having a bit of technical difficulties. There we go, we're back. So yeah, plus and plus makes a plus and a minus makes a negative, and minus and a plus makes a minus, and two negatives make our plus there. Okay, so that's our adding and subtracting. When we want to, what are we doing there? Whoops. Let's do undo on that. Okay, we're back on board. We're back on board. Sorry about that. When we're doing our multiplying and dividing, multiply and divide. All right, similar sort of thing. I'll just set the same question up, just with a couple of different signs. So we look at, let's change the color on that. Let's just do a erase, pen, black. Alright, so our plus 10 divided by a positive 5. We'll do a positive 10 divided by a negative 5. We'll do a negative 10 divided by positive 5, and a negative 10 being divided by a negative 5 there. Whenever we multiply and divide, I really do want you to think about just ignoring the plus and the minuses to start with, and just think about the numbers themselves. So regardless, 10 divided by 5 is always going to be 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2. What changes whether or not it's a positive or negative is really when we have positive and a positive. Two positives make a positive. A negative and a positive make our negative. Positive and negative gives us our negative, while a negative and a negative gives us a positive answer. So that's how we're looking at doing the multiplying and divide. Same process. That's obviously for our divide. If we want to look at doing a multiplication, we obviously need to start looking at, similarly when we multiply, the same rules apply. So if we have a positive with a positive with a negative, that's a pretty scrappy one, isn't it? Positive with a negative, negative with a positive, or a negative with a negative. Alright, so a positive number being multiplied by a positive number is going to give a positive answer. A positive number being multiplied by a negative, or negative with a positive, will both give negative answers, and a negative number being multiplied by another negative number will again give us a positive answer. So we can look at something along the lines of 6 times 6, they're both positive numbers, or positive 6 times negative 6, negative 6 times positive 6, negative 6 times negative 6, and they will give us, obviously, like I said in class, let's ignore the signs for the time being. 6 times 6 is 36, 6 times 6 is 36, is 36 is 36, and then we apply this here. It's a positive with a positive, the answer is positive. Positive with a negative will give us a negative answer, a negative with a positive will give us another negative answer, and a negative times a negative will actually give us a positive answer. So that's about it in terms of your multiplying and dividing.